All right, well, today I want to revisit animations, specifically animation events. Let me get a share screen going here. So we played with animations before. Uh, uh, I remind you that it's best when making an animation to do it inside a container. And this is so that the movements that we specify in here are relative to its parent, and then we can place its parent anywhere we want in the scene. So we select the object that we want. We could ask for a new clip. I have one already set up here that I'll talk about. Uh, we can add these various keyframes that at which we define various positions, rotations, material colors, basically anything that we want. By default, it starts with two keyframes at 0 and 1 unit of time. And it's best to stick with this as we can, as I'll show you later, you can adjust speed in the animator. So one thing of note here is the how the curves match at the keyframe, and this is best demonstrated here if I look at the curves. Let me get this position here. And remember, pressing A and here scales it. Actually, that's not the best one, maybe the rotation. No, the scale. So we can, this is the one, okay. So here at, for the Y rotation, I'm gonna make this little thing bounce. What I'm doing here is I'm also squishing it as it hits the ground to give the appearance of a deforming object. And to do this, I have a rotation that stops some distance above the ground, and I can have this. Here I'm setting the tangent, but better is to make it a broken, and then I can adjust the slope on one side and make it different than the slope on the other side. So I can have it come into this flat and then go off at some other angle on the other side. I think I'll actually leave it at flat here. You can do the same thing with the tangents. You can set them differently as well. So lots of control over things. So basically what I've done here, I've got my position that is bouncing. It's going up in the air and coming down. I've got these secondary little spots here where I tune the rotation to stop at these points. So the rotation doesn't occur while it's on the ground. So during this phase, it's not rotating, but then it rotates while it's in the air. And again, it doesn't rotate while it's on the ground here. And the scale here, I've got an X scale that gets smaller, is flat, and gets larger again. So that's the scaling in the X. And here's the scaling in the Y. It gets larger and then smaller again. So and these are all tuned to these kind of secondary pieces where the things are going on here at while it's on the ground. So that's a lot of fiddling to get that going. All right, so what is it that I'm really aiming at here? I want to talk about events, and so with this little character here, what I want to do is I want to uh, uh, do something at various points in here. Maybe make sounds, make particle effects, whatever. So um, um, let's say I want to make a sound when the character, when it hits the ground. So over here is where it hits the ground, and I want to make a sound. Now, there are a couple of things we have to do with this. One is we need a script that plays that audio clip. And I can put this in a script, and I can put it anywhere. It has to be on the Cube Z, but I'm going to put it in this little script called function container. The other thing, since I'm going to play a sound, is that the Cube Z has to have an audio source. Anything that's going to play a sound has to have one of these. There are various parameters that we can set. And most of the setting I'll do from within the script anyway, so we won't look at these, just drop it in automatically. And I need an event. So I want the event to be here when it hits the ground, so I line this up. I can add an event, that's this little button here. That adds an event that now shows as the little blue thing. And what it's asking me for is a function name. Now, because I've put this function container script on the Cube Z, when I pull this down, I see two public functions in that script: play random pitch sound, and later we'll play with make sparkle. And I need a sound, of course, to put in that slot. So in my sound here, I have a boom sound, and I'll just drop it in the slot. So and we'll look at the script here in just a second. So in the script, I have some public variables, minimum pitch, maximum pitch, and volume. And I have this function that is that we just invoked in that script, play random pitch sound, and it has an argument audio clip. That's the boom that we just dropped in here. So I set a random pitch between min pitch and match pitch. This is going to make the sounds not all sound exactly the same. Some will be higher pitched, some will be lower pitched. The volume is 0.5, that's settable from the script. And when all this is ready, we play a one-shot audio clip. And now when I run this, I should get a boom sound when it hits the ground. So, very good. We've got a sound event added to our animation, and it's as simple as that. Now, the other part of this script, the other function in here, is the make sparkle. And the make sparkle is going to has an argument for a game object. This is a rotation to make the particle effect spray up in the air. Our particle effects have to be turned at 90 degrees. And I use the instantiate to make the geo game object out of my prefab, that is the argument here, at a particular position, and with this rotation that rotates at 90 degrees. And just so my scene doesn't get cluttered up by these things, I destroy it after 5 seconds. So let's do this at the top of the of the swing. And of course, we can put these anywhere. They don't have to be at keyframes, but I'll put it at the top here. And now for my function, instead, I'll select the Make Sparkle. And somewhere in my prefab folder, I've got a sparkle particle effect that just sprays some stuff up in the air and makes a little sparkle effect at the top of the swing. Pretty cool. Now, let me add one more effect here just to show you that you can. So as he takes off, let's add an event, and we'll make this a sound. And instead of the boom sound, I've got this woof sound that might be an exertion sound as we try to jump. And so now I've got two sounds, the boom when we land, the woof when we take off, and the sparkle when it hits the top of its curve. So all of that's pretty cool. Now, the cube container here has this animator controller. This was created when we made our initial animation, and it's fairly simple. It's got the cube new animation, no events, has a speed of 1. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find that controller. I believe this is it right here. And I'm going to make a duplicate of it. So I'm duplicating this controller. And I'll call this slow. And I've got this other object over here, the sphere container. And I need to dress this up a little bit. I've got to put the function container on it, and I've got to put an audio source on it, and I've got to put an animator component on it. And actually I can do that just by copying this one, copy component, and put it over here, and I'll paste the component as new. And so now I have an animator here, but I want to use this new one that I've made, this slow one, for my controller. And it looks exactly the same, but I'm going to set the speed of this down to 0.5. So my sphere has the same animation. It's the same animation, but its speed is set to be different. So now when I play this, I've got the cube. I've got the cube using the original cube new no events, and the sphere using the slowed down cube new no events. But all of the work is kind of reusable. All we had to do was make a duplicate of the controller and set its speed to be 0.5, whereas the original one had a speed of 1. So all pretty cool. This, by the way, this is Mechanim, the animator, and it's a state machine, and we'll use it a lot in the animation of characters and AIs. The thing to note here is there's an entry state, and it immediately transitions to the default state, which is the orange one. We don't have any other states in here at this point, but we'll do a lot more with this later. And here's the business about the speed and the audio source and the function container that have to be put on there. But all this is pretty cool. and rather easy to deal with. So I'll stop the share there, and I'll stop recording, and I'll see you all in class. Bye.